Welcome to the show, guys. I got a heated episode here for you. We are talking about the top 10 fantasy football pests for this year. And again, for this show, I wasn't going to bring Jim on because I really wanted to rant and rave, but I wanted to bring in a neutral party here to kind of keep me in check and talk some stats here. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, how's it going, counselor?
Oh, not good at all. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
We're talking about pests. We're talking about the worst players in the NFL getting playing time over the potential stars that should be getting playing time. We're going to rip into guys like David Montgomery and Josh Palmer who have zero business being on the field. Now, Jim might disagree on a couple of things, but I don't care. And maybe he'll be the voice for some of you guys who are disagreeing with me, but I don't care. Now, some people are saying, well, Joe, you're so wrong on guys like Quentin Johnson and all these guys that aren't getting playing time. Yes, I am, but most of them were stashes. And also, I want to do another disclaimer, okay? The Chiefs were wrong on a ton of picks. T. Higgins. How about Devontae Smith, right? He's not doing the hottest this year, right? Who else is there? My brain's not even working right now. Austin Eckler, he has a crappy week this week. There's a ton more players that have crapped bad. J.K. Dobbins, probably they told you to draft J.K. Dobbins. How about him? And on and on and on and on. And this has been that unorthodox year, hasn't it been, Jim? It's been a crazy year.
It has been obviously huge injuries all over the place, which is terrible, but also just low scoring. We are just not seeing the points scored that have been scored in prior seasons. That I was reading about some stat the other day talking about the over-under on NFL games, and like 80% of the NFL games have hit the under on that bet, which is just ridiculous. And it hurts all of us. Certainly we love the offensive razzle dazzle. That's what fantasy football is all about. And we're not getting it this year. And that is also extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it's an extremely weird year, completely weird. We're going to dive into how weird it is, okay? So let's start off with the first pest here that I absolutely dislike, and he is injured, which is going to sideline him. I think Dan Campbell said that David Montgomery is going to be out, I think, he said a little bit, which could be maybe a week, maybe two, maybe three. We don't know. He's not on IR. So David Montgomery is my first pest that I absolutely dislike and hate this year. And Jim's going to disagree with this, but let me explain my reasoning, okay? David Montgomery, years to wow us, were not wowed, okay, in Chicago. Like, lackluster, had his share of injuries, never broke up for any big runs. Just a guy that he's like the little engine that could. He's there, he could do it. He just never really shined in Chicago. Now, again, I was an ambassador of David Montgomery. They'd always bring in Tariq Cohen. Nagy would be there as the coach, and he would just always buzzkill him. So I was always like against, Tariq Cohen, everybody that was hindering David Montgomery. But now they draft, and you saw the excitement. You've seen that meme video. Not even it's become a meme, but where the Lions, front office and owners and all these guys, the scouts happily drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay, like everyone was excited. He's ultra explosive. Like this is our guy. And he's being benched. He's hurt a little bit now, but, first couple weeks of his play is the David Montgomery show, getting over 30 attempts, and Jahmyr Gibbs, your first overall pick, being sidelined. And Jahmyr Gibbs looks better on the runs. He looks more explosive. Why are you running the lackluster David Montgomery? Jim, this has been a thorn in my side because everybody was suggesting Jahmyr Gibbs round 2 to 3. That's where his ADP was. And I was invested in the idea that the Lions actually believed in him. And look what the situation that we're in now.
Yeah, it obviously is super frustrating how Jahmyr Gibbs has been used this season. I totally agree with you. They are underutilizing him, but there's got to be a reason why. And usually when it comes to these young running backs, the biggest issue keeping them off the field is the fact that they're not good at pass protection. They're not good at picking up the blitz. And that might be why Montgomery is out there more than he should. Now,
sexual relations.
Last year, we know that they used two running backs. They had Swift and they had who's the other guy? Williams, right? Jamal Williams. And Jamal Williams was the goal line guy, the smash mouth, and Swift was the finesse guy. And that was the role I saw. That Gibbs was coming in for the finesse guy. Montgomery was coming in for the smash, and we knew that was going to happen. They paid Montgomery $6 million a year. They're not going to pay him $6 million a year to bench him. But, again, it has been very frustrating. But I want them both to succeed. I think they both can on this offense, but they got to give more work to Gibbs. And look, Montgomery got hurt. Why? Because they've been overutilizing him.
Yeah.
There's a balance there. They got to achieve some sort of balance, and that has not happened, and that is frustrating.
For some context, Jimmy is a Montgomery owner, just to let you guys know. So
yeah, he's been great. He was like this year's Josh Jacobs, but not now. Now he's going to miss a couple weeks. But he's that kind of a player, and that's why I bet on him, because I knew he would have that Jamal role in the offense. And
he's never proven that he could be a workhorse back, and now they're forcing him into this position, and that's what's really pissing me off. They're forcing him. You're going to be a workhorse, 30 attempts. No. And again, that's where I just cut you off a little bit there. I think there's some sort of the only logical explanation, again, this is just my theory, is there some sort of sexual relation between Jahmyr Gibbs and Dan Campbell or something like that. That's number one. Number two, because I don't think it's based on talent. Number two, I really feel that Dan Campbell, right? He was probably a big part of the acquisition of David Montgomery. And someone in the front office said, hey, we're going to draft Jahmyr Gibbs first overall. And Campbell's probably like, nah, we don't need him. I think we're good with what we got. Again, this is just my theory on this. And I think it's just ego. I think Campbell's an egotistical moron, and he's a thug. And he's basically saying, no, David Montgomery's my guy. I'm going to force feed him. I don't care what you guys say. It was your decision to get Gibbs. We're good enough with Montgomery, and that's where we're at. So that's the reason Jahmyr Gibbs is being benched. Because other than that, man, he looks way more explosive on the runs. He's a better running back. Give him the volume. It's like anything, man. You just got to give them the volume. I'll give you another example here, for example, of giving him the volume. Cooper Kupp, as soon as he was sidelined, Puka stepped up. Why? Because of sheer volume. So you wonder how much more NFL talent is hindered because the alpha is there, right? Because there's no opportunity to shot. And so that's something to monitor again moving forward now with Gibbs, with David Montgomery hurt. How long is he going to be out? But again, this is total BS. And there's got to be some sort of realization here that he cannot handle the workload. He's been injured. He already had that bruised knee thigh early in the season, and now already he's out with ribs. So clearly he can't handle the load, and he never did in Chicago. So to me, he's a big-time pest, and I can't stand him. He's got to just go away. Jahmyr Gibbs needs to be getting 30 attempts a game, and that's the bottom line.
I'm not sure I agree with you there, counselor, but they do need to give Gibbs more work. And I think that would also be to Montgomery's benefit, because Montgomery's going to be fresher. So let's give some more, take some away for, Montgomery doesn't need 30 touches a game. That's too much. No one can really handle that outside of Derrick Henry. Give him 20 and then give all the rest to Jahmyr Gibbs. Let's see what he can do, because I want to see that guy out there.
Free Gibbs. Okay, so that's pest number one is David Montsuckery. All right. Next one here, we are talking about, oh God, this guy's got to go away. This guy's got to go away. Tyler Algier. This guy, oh man, what was he? I think he was like a third or fourth round pick.
Yeah, I think he was a fourth or fifth round pick. He was...
Let me pull it up here. I want to get exact here. He is the biggest pest. He's got to go. He's got to go. Like, he's got to just either break his leg or go away. He was a fifth round pick.
Yeah.
Fifth round pick. Okay, here's what pisses me off here, okay? Tyler Algier, fifth round pick. Now, he had a good year last year, okay? But that's not here nor there. You draft Bijan Robinson, Bijan, first overall pick for your team. This guy was a top 10 pick overall. He is by far the most talented. If you ever watch his highlights, it looks like you're watching one of those Matrix movies. He's amazing. Yeah. Bijan is the best running back in the game. I don't care about you guys CMC loser owners, okay? Because he's already backed up already. All right, so Bijan is by far the best running back in the game. You could debate me. He's the best kid on the team. And you're splitting carries with a fifth round pick, Tyler Algier, who sucks. And I've been watching, man. Tyler Algier's not doing anything. He's running for negative yardage, getting stuffed at the line. He's not doing it. And what I'm saying is this is a direct, it's like literally a 50-50 split. And it should be 99% Bijan, 1% Algier. Algier's only there to clean the feet of Bijan Robinson. Clean the cleats of Bijan Robinson. So you come on, you clean his cleats, you get down on your knees and you clean Bijan's cleats and you're off. That's all you do, Algier, because you have no business being on the field. You are the biggest pest. You need to get lost because Bijan's the guy. He needs to be a full workhorse. And and it's catching up to the Falcons because they lost last game. Why? Because they're running Algier. And that's all I got to say. What are your thoughts on this, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another super frustrating situation, and Algier has not been effective. He was really good in the first game of the season, but he hasn't done anything really since then. I think he's under 4 yards per carry, and yeah, they are overutilizing him when they've got Bijan. Like last week when they were behind, they're trying to come back from being
Yep.
behind in the game they were playing, and they kept Algier out on the field. It's like, why don't you have your best players on the field? Get your best players out there. And I don't know. I mean, I think this is an Arthur Smith thing. I think, he doesn't want to like overuse Bijan, but I think because of that, he's so paranoid about it. He's underutilizing him, and it's harming the team. You need your best players out there. Get him out on the field. I don't know why they don't want him out on the field.
I don't get it either. It's ridiculous, man. I don't know. Again, sexual relations. Did Bijan have something going on with Arthur Smith's family member? I
I
don't know.
love how that's your go-to on everything. It's
Yeah.
and they're sleeping with the coach's wife. Come on.
It makes no sense. Okay, so clearly draft capital means absolutely nothing. So you and I, Jim, we're owners of a team, right? You and I own a team right now, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So Jim and I are talking and we invest. Okay, who's our first? We have 250 top players coming out of college. Our first overall pick, like we're gonna invest, like it's a
Right.
huge investment, and then we invest in this person with our first overall pick, top 10 pick, and then we bench them. Like it just doesn't like logic does not. It's not resonating with me. I've never seen this before because I've always seen first round picks. Zeke Elliott years ago, Saquon Barkley. These guys have come in and been and integrated as workhorse running backs, especially when the talent around them sucks. Like it's not like Algier is Derrick Henry here. Come on, man. It's
Right.
Algier, a fifth round pick who's mediocre at best. I mean, come on. And this is where it's not resonating with me. It's not. Something's not like this has been a weird year, man. And again, people are like, Joe, you suck. Your picks suck. No, my picks are great. My talent is amazing. Like these guys are the best running backs on the team. They're just not getting the volume. That's all. This was a venting episode. I just really want to get this episode out because I'm pissed off, Jim. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it is super frustrating, man. I totally feel your pain because it's just it has just been rough because these players, these superstar players, are not doing what they
Oh,
should be doing for your fantasy team. And when it comes to when they're not even injured, when it's just a utilization issue, it's like that's an easy fix. Just get them on the field more, And I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, and for all those people saying, "Oh, you should have went wide receiver early," wide receivers are not having a cakewalk. Jamar Chase has been crappy. You got Justin Jefferson who's been out. You got guys like Rashid Shaheed stepping up. Like we're gonna get to this
Right.
like we're gonna talk about that. But again, this is what I'm talking about. It's just been one of those crazy years. Okay, so Tyler Algier, big time pass. Let's move quickly through it. I just had to elaborate on these two because I'm getting a lot of heat for them. It's not my fault. It's really there's something going on with the coaches and the player. I don't know what's going on in the back room. All right, number 3 here. I'm not really as angry here because I don't have a lot of Javonte stock here, but Javonte Williams was a second round pick. The pest I'm talking about is Jaleel McLaughlin. Okay, this kid, it came out of nowhere, undrafted rookie here. And he's getting the volume. For example, week 6, NFL week 6 here this year, 7 attempts for McLaughlin, 10 for Javonte. I know Javonte was banged up a week or two ago, but this is a weird one, isn't it, Jim? I mean, Javonte should theoretically be the workhorse, and it's not happening.
Yeah, it's not. And anytime you got a player that's coming back from a major injury like what he suffered, there's always issues, and that's one of the reasons why I don't like to take those kind of players. Now, Brees has come back. He's looked great, but it's like he was also being held back for the first like month or so
Yeah.
of the season. But now it looks like he's finally just taken over. But I don't know. I'm also on the mindset that I don't know if Javonte Williams is really that good. I mean,
No,
he's an okay back, but I don't think he's a good. He's not
I
a Brees
agree.
Hall. He's
I
not that
agree.
kind of a player. So maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that Javonte it just isn't good enough to be a workhorse for the Broncos. But of course, the Broncos are a mess. The whole team is in shambles. So what are you going to do? There's not much you could do there.
Nothing. Yeah, and I agree with you. Very good points there. That's why I'm not really as upset about this. But you think that Javonte would get a little bit more being a second round pick, and he just never really got going. He had that 1 year we had 203 attempts with Melvin Gordon, then he got hurt, and again, you think that they'd start feeding him, but they're not. So yeah, I mean, I'm not as upset. Good on Jaleel McLaughlin for stepping up, but again, you mentioned Brees Hall here. He's not, no one's on the list here. Like Dalvin Cook didn't make this list because the Jets, as much as I dislike them for acquiring Dalvin Cook, it's like they realize that Brees Hall is the better back, and they're
Right.
utilizing him. And he got that touchdown last game, and he looks good. And they beat the Eagles. And I'm not saying it's just because of Brees Hall, but what I'm saying is that this is they know that they're using their best talent available. And if they keep string a couple wins together, Aaron Rodgers is walking, I think, without a crutch now. Like he could possibly back maybe. We never know, and they could make us a run here. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's like being aware. This is my better player, and then utilize him. That's what these other teams have to do. Okay. Next one here. We talked about this before the show. I got a little upset because I started Dameon Pierce this week. 13 attempts in week 6. And what do you have? 12 attempts for Devin Singletary, who was just used more. Still not giving up on Dameon Pierce. I think again, we talked about this. It might have been game script. Dameon Pierce just not looking. I mean, he had one hard run. I think he ran for like 11 yards, pounded it through. I think he got stuffed near the goal line a couple times too. But again, it's just this offense seems to be throwing more with CJ Stroud, just not utilizing the run game as much as they could. But yeah, the pest I've got here is Devin Singletary. This guy sucks. He has no business getting any volume at all. It should be the Dameon Pierce show. Young, talented, harder runner than Singletary. And the fact that Singletary stole 12 attempts from him in that game is a little concerning for week 6.
Yeah, and it's like out of nowhere because Singletary hasn't really been utilized up until last week.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's going on there? But I think this is also just a situation where you've got a young quarterback, you've got the rookie quarterback, and I think the offensive line is just not that good. That's why they throw so much, and so I think it's just the overall team situation isn't really conducive towards a really productive running back. It's just one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing. I don't really expect Singletary to be a major hindrance going forward because he hasn't been so far this
No.
year. But yeah, it's been frustrating if you have Pierce. So
Okay, the next one here, I got number 5. Okay, another pest, and this one might bother Jim because I know he's a Ridley owner. So, the guy I'm talking about here is Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk was never a good wide receiver. I mean, where was he on the team before? He was on Arizona or something like that. Like he's not good, and here he is now. On the year, I'm looking at the year here for season 6 weeks and heading into NFL Week 7 here. Christian Kirk 49 targets to Ridley's 44. Both 2 touchdowns apiece, and 33 receptions for Kirk, 26 to Ridley. I mean, Ridley's clearly the better talent. He's the better receiver. He's faster. He's quicker. He's a better route runner. He's just a better athlete, right? And here we are, Christian Kirk, and I think it's really just based on the rapport they had built up, but prior to the acquisition of Ridley. But this is really, really bothering, being a Ridley owner in one league myself, that Christian Kirk is getting the ball. And again, we know that Lawrence is just not performing where he should be at all either, whether it be injury or whatever his excuse is. But this is really, really annoying. Kirk should not be touching the ball.
yeah, I mean, I think this is mostly a Trevor Lawrence issue because I just don't think Lawrence is that good. He's just not that good. He hasn't taken that step up that he needs to take to be successful in the NFL. And this lackluster offense is just such there's just nothing great going on in this offense, especially with the passing game. That falls on the quarterback, and he needs to target his number one receiver more. He's just not targeting him enough, and and also just not consistent at all with
No.
his targets towards Ridley. He doesn't feed the ball to Ridley. There's been like 2 good games out of the 6 so far. So, I mean, again, in the situations where I have these guys, I got to start them because I don't have really a better alternative. But it has been just extremely frustrating and extremely disappointing that Ridley is not being the alpha receiver on this team when he should. He absolutely needs to be.
And I know we're giving a hard time for Trevor Lawrence, and a lot of people are, busting our balls on that. But a lot of these quarterbacks are not doing good. Anthony Richardson out for the season, for example. Dak Prescott is sitting 19th amongst quarterbacks right now in the rankings. I mean, this guy not looking that good. 7 touchdowns. What is he? 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And even Jalen Hurts has got an 84.67 passer rating, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions for Jalen Hurts. The guy is throwing as many interceptions as he is touchdowns. I mean, these guys just not performing where they should. I'm looking at this. No one's really doing that great. Josh Allen's been good. Herbert had a decent week this week, not the greatest, obviously. He's a top 6 guy. Again, quarterbacks, like you said, we talked about it, I think, last show, like just not performing the way they did last year at all.
Yeah, it's been scoring way down. Last week, the number one quarterback was Tua, and he only had 26 points. That's not that much. I mean, last year, again, it was like you saw quarterbacks get 30 to 40 points a
Yep.
game, especially the guys like Hurts and Allen and stuff like that. And it's just not happening this year. Again, a very frustrating issue for everybody that has these players. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of quarterbacks that are not doing great. And like Trevor Lawrence, we're just speaking about, I think he's like the QB 18 on the season, just a big nothing, that's for where he was drafted, extreme disappointment. As far as I'm concerned, I thought he was going to take that next step, and it has not happened, and maybe it never will.
So there you have it. Christian Kirk, big time pest. Okay. The next pest here, I got to talk about this one. This one is really getting under my skin. And we're talking about Josh Palmer, being a pest. Okay, so Quentin Johnson. Now here we go again with the banging of the coach's or offensive coordinator's wife here, Kellen Moore. Again, my theory here: Quentin Johnson, beautiful blend of speed and talent and size, and he's got everything. Right now, you can say, well, he drops the ball, he's not a good route runner, whatever your excuse may be. It is what it is. But there's a reason why he was drafted first overall, right? To be used. And they don't have Mike Williams. Guys, Mike Williams is not on the team anymore. Hello. And you lost your game yesterday because you're force-feeding Keenan Allen. Mind you, Justin Herbert looking terrible, overthrowing Keenan Allen like a couple times, I think it was. So at the end of the day here, when I look at Josh Palmer, he was, I don't know what he was, a 3rd or 4th round. I got to pull this up here. I'm going to be exact here. He's not good. Like he's doing it because he's got that rapport with him. But let me see here. What was he? Okay, he was a 3rd round pick in 2021. He sucks. I mean, he's done nothing over the years. He's accumulated, 8 touchdowns in 3 years. 3 years, 8 touchdowns. He's never eclipsed 770 yards receiving. He's not good. Josh Palmer is a bottom feeder, and yet they continue to feed him over their first overall pick. You're not even giving targets to Quentin Johnson. You're not even giving him a chance. He hasn't even seen the ball. And this is where I get upset. Is this a play calling thing with Kellen Moore? Is it a Herbert? Did he do something with Herbert's girlfriend? Like, I don't know what's going on here, but you're not utilizing your first round pick. And the reason why I was so excited about Quentin is because I can get it for volume. And I knew Mike Williams was going to go down, or Keenan Allen, or even both. Maybe Keenan Allen is due. But again, exactly as I predicted, Mike Williams is down. Enter in as your wide receiver 1, maybe 2, Quentin Johnson. No, it's not happening. And I'm extremely frustrated with this, like beyond frustrated, because again, we're talking, Jim, first round draft capital. Quentin Johnson should be on the field all the time. Josh Palmer should be on the bench, but it's not happening. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not happening. And I just think maybe the issue is just Quentin Johnson just isn't that good. Quentin Johnson can't make the leap, man. I mean, they took a big chance on him. There were some questions about him going into the draft as to if he had the skills necessary to really dominate at the next level. And I just don't think he has it. I mean, if he had the talent, if he was developing the rapport with Herbert, he'd be on the field, and he's just not. And it's not unprecedented for first round wide receivers to just bust out and never do anything. You see it every year. There's like 1 or 2, and I think maybe it's Quentin Johnson. Maybe it's just it's never going to happen. And I mean, it sucks. It's a bummer, but at this point, I mean, I don't think you can just keep holding on to the hope that he's somehow going to turn into something when we haven't seen anything in the first 6 weeks. And in fact, his role is shrinking, and it's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know that's your go-to. It's your go-to.
100%. I got it right here. I posted on my Instagram. 100% banged his girl. But
I mean, it could just be that he's just not good. He's just not a good player at the next level, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, I don't know.
The
He,
scouts were
he
saying he's a beautiful blend of speed and size, and I watched the tape, and he's a good player. I mean, like I said,
yeah.
if I'm $1 billion, Jim and I are the owner of the Charge. We're $1 billion organization. We've got our scouts together. We watched the tape. We made an executive decision to draft this guy in the first round. Just throw him the ball is all I'm saying. Just throw Quentin Johnson the ball. Josh Palmer has zero business being on the field. He was a third round pick years ago, accumulated, and I went over the numbers, 8 touchdowns in 3 seasons, has not eclipsed 770 yards in his entire career. He sucks. Mike Williams is out. It is time to play Quentin Johnson. Unless he banged Quentin, what is his name? Kellen Moore's girl or whatever Kellen Moore is dealing with, his partner. There's no reason why Quentin Johnson, give me a reason. I mean, you could say he sucks,
The
but
reason is he's not that good.
I don't know.
Maybe he's just not that good. He can't do it.
I'm
He
not
can't
sold
make
on
the
that.
leap. There's lots of players that can't make that leap from college to pro. And I think he's just one of them. I mean, you look at what Zay Flowers has been able to do this year. You look at what Addison has been able to do this year.
Josh
They're
Downs,
great. The talent is there. You can see their role growing.
but
You
they're
can
getting the
see their
ball.
importance growing. But it's going the wrong direction for Quentin Johnson. And I
But
don't know. I don't think he's even going to be on the team next year.
but
It
they're
just doesn't seem like they keep him.
he's not getting the ball. So unless they're just not throwing it to because they just think he sucks. That's your theory. Your theory is he possibly sucks. I think he's begging Kellen Moore's girlfriend or wife. All right, let's move on here. So I don't think he sucks. I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. All right, number 7 here. We told you about this one. This one we saw from a mile away, writing on the wall, red flags in the air. Zeke Elliott, man. I mean, everyone is telling you Stevenson. We were telling you Stevenson. Great value round 2 until the Zeke acquisition. Now Zeke is washed up, but not. And I said this a bazillion times. He's washed up, but he's good enough to be a pest. On the year, 49 attempts to 78 for Stevenson, 7 attempts in week 6. 10 attempts for Stevenson. When you look at volume distribution, this is almost looks like a 50-50 split. Enough so that Stevenson has just been non-relevant for fantasy. He's just not getting it done, and that's a huge hindrance. And Zeke Elliott even stealing a goal line, carry from him this past week.
Right.
Zeke Elliott at this point needs to go away. He just needs to go away, like retire, go away, break a leg. I don't care. Zeke Elliott needs to go away. You're a pest. And here's the thing. I was hating on the Patriots because they run this committee all the time. But every team is doing it now. Every team has gone the way of the Patriots. This is why I want to talk about this episode. It's not just 16-round running backs. It's every running back, minus CMC, who again is hurt now. I don't know how long he's going to be out. So CMC was the only guy kind of getting that volume. But sure enough, I'm not sure. The reason I didn't draft him, because I knew he wasn't durable. Right? And even Eckler, a guy that everyone said draft Eckler, he's been sucking this year, gave you a bunch of donuts not being on the field. When he comes back, has a mediocre game. So that's where we're at, man. This is the new NFL, unless things start changing, or this was just a weird year.
Yeah, and with Zeke, as soon as they acquired Zeke, we were like, that's it. Ramondre Stevens off the list. He's off 16 rounds. And I was like, oh, I think he's still going to be okay. But you know what? This team is so awful at all phases. I mean, it's just, I don't think even if they didn't acquire Ezekiel Elliott, I still don't think Ramondre Stevenson would be any good because the team's no good. The offense is no good. It's just terrible offense with no weapons. And it's Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick does this. And the only time a Bill Belichick running back does well is if the other running back gets injured and is out for the season. That's the only time you ever see it happening. So yes, I think you're right about if Zeke Elliott gets hurt, then I think Ramondre Stevenson might be okay. But that is not how Belichick runs his offense. That's not how he runs his running backs. And it's just, we're going to have to live with it. So
yeah, this one the last one I'm not as annoyed about. I wanted to save my energy for I want to unload all of my energy in the early picks because at this point I'm kind of pissed off and tapped out. These ones are a little easier on. I'm on cruise control for the last 3 pests here. Fantasy football busts or pests. Rashid Shaheed. I mean, you're talking about you got Chris Olave, a top prospect on your team. He should be getting the ball. And Rashid Shaheed, I think he got 6 targets last game. Got to double check this, but Who? What? Like, why is he getting so much volume? I mean, you got Kamara there who catches the ball in the backfield. You've got Michael Thomas, who's remarkably been able to stay healthy. I don't know how long that's going to last here. And then you got Olave, and it's like, let me just pull up here the wide receivers. Rashid on the year, he's still third in targets, 53 for Olave, still in the lead. Michael Thomas, 47. And then you got Rashid Shaheed, 27 targets. Now, here's the kicker here. 2 receiving touchdowns, Thomas 0, Olave only 1. I mean, am I reading this right? It almost feels like I'm not. 6 weeks in and Olave only 1 touchdown and Shaheed's got 2. Like, first of all, who is Shaheed? And I dive into it. He was an undrafted guy. I mean, in 2022, I mean, he's done nothing. He was just an undrafted rookie. He's done.
Yeah, he's a fast guy though. He's a speedster, so that's what he does. He stretches the defense. That's his role. And yeah, I mean, Carr's been going to him. Carr's been terrible this year as per usual. But Carr's not hyper targeting his number one, which he should be doing. He should be hyper targeting Olave. That's what he does with his number one receiver. And this year he's not. He's distributing it around the team, which is frustrating. And the team sucks as a result. So Olave is still the number one receiver on that team. He is getting pretty decent volume. I got him in PPR league, so he's been pretty good for PPR because you get all the because of all the receptions he's gotten. But I want to see him utilized more. Get him the ball more. He needs to be fed more. He's the number one. He's the future.
Yeah, Rashid Shaheed came out of absolutely nowhere. Like, absolutely nowhere. He has no business being the touchdown leader on the team. I mean, it's just crazy, man.
The fact that he's the touchdown leader with 2 touchdowns is kind of pathetic.
Shows you Derek Carr. And that's the thing. Like, Derek Carr was a guy I was just like, I hate that guy. I can't stand that guy. He hasn't had one playoff win, and then in come the Saints thinking we got gold with Derek Carr. We've got one. No, you got garbage with Derek Carr. Again, paying him over $150 million. I would not pay $1,000 to a quarterback that has not won one playoff game in over 9 years. Can you imagine thinking you got yourself a gem when he hasn't won a playoff game in 9, not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7? You think that after 4 years you would, or after 5 years, or after 6 years, or after 7 years, Jim, or after 8 years, but 9 years not winning one playoff game, and you actually think Derek Carr is good? We have to discuss something. And then you got guys like Davis Mills, who was never that good either, but he never really got a chance. He never had the weapons that Derek Carr had. And after 1 year, you dispose of Davis Mills for C.J. Stroud, like the Texans do.
It looks like that was a pretty good thing. I think Stroud is very impressive this year, way better than what Mills would have been able to do.
But you got to, but again, you got to give credit to the Texans to say, okay, like logic kicks in that Davis Mills is not that good. Let's pivot. Let's move quickly. Shouldn't take the Raiders 9 years to figure out that Derek Carr is not the guy, and then finally dump him off after 9 years. And the thing that's even crazier, once trash is another's treasure, it's like, dude, he's not a treasure, and the Saints think that he's some sort of like savior on the team. No. And you're gonna see it this year. He's not gonna. And even if I hope they do make the playoffs.
I mean, there's nothing to say about Carr, man. He's the same as he's always been, right? I was just looking at the fact that Carr hyper targets his number one, and he's not doing it this year. He's spreading it around. I don't like that. I don't like all the targets going to Kamara either, because Kamara hasn't been able to do anything with those targets. Get it out to Olave. Olave's the best receiver on that team. Get it to them. Get the ball to him.
Again, it's this league. They just don't want to use their best players this year. It's crazy. It's going to catch up to them. You're going to see it's catching up with the Falcons not using Bijan. It's going to catch up. All right. The next one here, it's kind of bothering me a little bit, but Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's always been the workhorse back. And I talked about this year being kind of his last year riding off in the sunset, either busting or having one last boom year. And it looks like it's going to be a neutral year as he, slowly fades out into the sunset as Tajay starts making his rise here. But yeah, this is for sure taught me that this is the last year I'm ever going to have Henry on my team. This shows it. So Tajay, if he's good value next year, and if Henry finishes this year off strong, I'm looking Tajay's way next year because he's been a pest. He's getting in there now on the year. 6 weeks in, 98 attempts for Henry, 31 for Tajay. What is that percentage-wise, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, that still means that Henry has like a 75% share of that backfield. Tajay is used more in the passing game, I do believe. And Tajay is the future. I mean, again, Henry is riding off into the sunset. I think this is his last year as a
Yeah.
Titan. I believe his contract is up at the end of this season. And yeah, he's a 30-year-old back. So the fact that he's still been as effective as he has been at age 30 is very impressive.
Yeah.
I don't have him on any of my teams. But I think come this time next year, Tajay is going to be the main guy.
Yeah.
So
It's been
he's a rising talent. So that's always good to see. Good to see the new talent coming in.
last year. And the last one here, last year for Henry, by the way. Last one here, guys. Okay. This one, again, it's kind of frustrating. I have Najee in one league, and he was a second round recommendation because he was primed for a workload here, is Jalen Warren. Now, I want to just make a disclaimer here with Najee Harris. Okay. He was, in his rookie year, he finished, I think, as a top 3. PPR running back, I think over to 1,100, 1,200 yards, something like that. I don't have the stat in front of me. Either way, it doesn't matter. He had a good rookie season. Last year, lackluster because, again, there was a quarterback shift. The O-line needed some help. Again, improving the O-line, drafting, who is it, Broderick Jones, whatever his name is, O-line guy. You've got Mike Tomlin, who believes in his workhorse guys. You've got Kenny Pickett settled in. You had good receivers. Deontay, I think he's just recently off IR. He should be coming back. He's got 21 days to get activated again. So when I look at a guy like Jalen Warren, I was like, no way. No way. And sure enough, it's been a 63-34 split in regards to attempts over the first 6 weeks here. And he's obviously being used in the receiving games. And why? Because Najee Harris just sucks. And I don't know, man. This is frustrating because, again, Tomlin, all the signs are pointing towards Najee having a good season. It's just not the case.
Yeah, and I think all the signs were pointing towards the Steelers having a good season, and that is just not the case. I just don't think they're not as good as they thought they were. Kenny Pickett is clearly not the answer at quarterback. He's a lackluster quarterback, and Najee's got no vision. He just runs into piles, and that's it. And he's looked good in like one game this year. And so I'm not surprised at all that Jalen Warren has eaten into his workload because Warren has been a more effective back. And it's disappointing to say. I don't know what the problem is. I mean, Najee was looking really good at the end of last season once he finally got over that foot injury. And he was like the number 4 overall running back in the second half of last year's season. But he comes out this year, he's just flat, just not performing, not good. And they're fading him. They're fading him in the offense, and it's just very disappointing to see. And this is a critical time for Najee's career, and he's not going to be on that team once his contract expires with this sort of play. It's just not going to happen. And where's he going to go? Who's going to want him on their team?
Nobody.
He's just not that good.
He sucks. And again, he had that one game, I think it was week 5 or 4, something like that. He was starting to play hard, and you could hear the announcer say he's playing for his career. Like, he had a couple good runs, but again, just no vision, just running into piles, like never exploding out for a run. It's never going to happen for this guy. And then you have a guy like Breece Hall, who again it shouldn't take you that long to show that you're an explosive, amazing back. Breece Hall has proven it already, even against tough offenses. That's how a good running back does it, right? Even guys like Saquon, who claim they're a good running back, you can't even stay on the field with your ankle injury. And when you come on, you're on a terrible offense. It looks bad. But either way, man, I mean, Jalen Warren's been a bit of a pest. Najee, and again, that's to the fault of Najee Harris. Unlike the other guys where you got guys like Bijan, who's looking amazing. And even like Jahmyr Gibbs on the runs. Look, all strikes well, he looks like the better running back, and they're getting benched. Even with the high draft capital, that's when I get, livid. Najee, not so much. I kind of understand. He's crapping the bed. That's on him. But the other guys who are doing well and getting benched, that's where I have a problem. That's where I have
absolutely. Keep your best players on the field. You need them. You need them if you want to win football games. Come on.
All right, man. Well, Starts and Sits is coming out. I'll do a solo tomorrow, but I wanted to get Jim on for this because, again, kind of be like the neutral party here to kind of simmer me down because this is just getting under my skin. But again, you guys would say, well, Joe, your picks suck. No, it's everybody. Imagine you listen to the Chiefs as drafted J.K. Dobbins when we told you not to, right? Even Miles Sanders, what has he done? Has Miles Sanders had a good – I haven't even looked at his stat. No. A lot of guys were, the Chiefs were terribly wrong on. And how's Eckler doing for you, right? I mean, you've basically gone like 4 or 5 weeks with 0 donuts with Eckler. And when he comes back, he has a mediocre game at best, right? There's a ton of Jefferson's out now. You're saying, well, Jefferson had a good start and he's going to come back. Sure, dude, in week 5 when he got hurt, he put up like 5 points. Now he's out for a minimum of 4. You lost Jefferson, your first overall pick for 5 weeks. What do you like, I mean, that's
Right.
season ending. That's for you anyway. So
Yeah.
again,
It is a gauntlet out there. And it is not just our players that are having
yeah.
problems, man. It is across the league. There are so many injuries and so many critical high draft capital people that are out or have been massively underperforming. It is just a rough season everywhere. And so it's important to know that, like, oh, if I didn't have this guy, I'd have this guy, and that guy sucks too. It's like, come on, it's just tough, but it is a marathon. Fantasy football is a marathon, and that's why you got to keep working that waiver wire. You got to keep picking up players. You got to keep improving your team to make it through this. What's going on? Because it is rough out there. 100%.
I want to make a strong statement about fantasy football 2023. This is the craziest year. Let me explain this to you how 2023 is in a nutshell for fantasy football, okay? It's literally like when you play a person, it's luck this year, because typically it's pretty obvious how, who wins, right? Because I know that this guy's going to produce on a high level. He's consistent every week. This year it's been committees everywhere. Wide receivers are getting hurt, top wide receivers. It's been very inconsistent. Guys that shouldn't be stepping up, undrafted guys are stepping up. 2023 is by far the most unorthodox fantasy football season of all time. So when you're playing somebody, it's literally like luck. Again, it's not just our picks. It's everybody's picks have been affected by not only injuries, but inconsistencies, lack of performances, poor decisions by coaching. And again, you're benching guys that you drafted first overall. That's a problem, and that's going to reflect on your fantasy rosters. It almost feels like the coaches, the league are out to screw fantasy football teams. That's exactly how it feels, and everybody's affected. This year has been a disaster. That's it.
It's tough. It is tough out there. And you know what? I'm getting out of town. I'm going to Vegas. I'm going to go see U2 at the Sphere. I'm going to enjoy myself for a few days and just blow off some steam.
I think you need to do that. Let me know how that Sphere experience is. Take some videos and we'll
I will. I'll send them to you. Yeah, it looks so cool. I just can't wait. I'm very excited.
All right, man. Well, enjoy your time off. And those are some pests for you guys. Top 10 pests for this year so far. And we'll keep diving into more content for you guys. Make sure you subscribe, thumbs up. We appreciate you. And we're out. We'll talk soon.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.